This is the story time of how I got my boss fired. So when I first moved to New York, I got a job at a really exclusive New York place. So I start getting trained by one of my bosses. Like, he's fucking weird from the jump, okay? Like, he's pretty bizarre from the first, 3 interactions. But I'm like, whatever, Livy, you need a job, you need this money, so just, shut the fuck up and just deal with it. I notice he's, touching me a lot, but I'm kind of just He's asking for my Instagram, so I give it to him. This is my boss, so I'm like, I'm gonna take it. So some time goes on, and I start getting really close with the other girls there. And we all start talking about my boss, and they're all like, I fucking hate him. I literally hate him so much. And I'm like, oh my God, why? And they're like, I'm guessing he's pretty touchy-feely with you already because you're gorgeous. I literally said that. I'm not just adding in, because you're gorgeous. They literally said that. I was like, yeah, he's a little too touchy-feely for my liking, but I'm brand new. I don't know what the fuck to do. They're just wait. It's just gonna get 20 times worse. Time goes on, and it does get 20 times worse. Touching is getting a little bit too frequent. It's to the point where I'm running around the floor to avoid this man. But things get 20 times worse with the other girls. He's saying just crazy things to everyone, being I'll pay you to have sex with me, my girlfriend, let me take you on a date, let's do all these things. And everyone's literally no, fucking leave us alone. We're all still pretty scared because he's our boss. But we also had another boss who was just a little bit more higher up than him. And I'm like, guys, let's tell him, maybe he'll take it to the owners or the operation or whatever, or the HR, that's what it is, HR. And they're like, no, we're so scared, I'm too scared to do that. I'm like, well, I'm fucking not scared, and I'm tired of this dumb shit of being literally harassed every single fucking time I come into work, so I'm gonna tell him. So I do just that, and my manager's like, okay, you know what? That's fucked up. We're gonna have a meeting with the head of operations. Come in tomorrow, and we're gonna talk to him, because this can't go on anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God, we're in the clear, thank God. No. Go to part 2. So I go into my work the next day, and I have a meeting with the guy who is the head of operations. So it's me, my manager, and the head of operations, and he's like, tell me everything that's happened. Also, I should note, the head of operations, some old man. So I'm like, oh, great. He's really going to take me fucking seriously. So this head of operations is making me go through every single thing that this guy did. Give me a physical example. So I'm physically having to do what he did to me. The head of operations is wow, I'm so sorry that this has been happening. Maybe there's a language barrier. And I'm like, he offered sex for money. There's not really a language barrier there whatsoever. Head of operations yeah, he probably just doesn't know his rights from his wrongs. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So it's very clear at this point that this head of operations guy does not give a fuck. I'm like, well, I want to talk to HR. He's like, if you talk to HR, it's going to be an open case. You're still going to have to work on the floor with this guy, and he's going to know that you filed it. So I'm like, you're not going to protect my safety whatsoever? And he's like, I'm afraid not. You probably don't want to go the HR route. So I'll just have a little talk with him. You realize I'm uncomfortable coming to work every day because he's harassing me. He's like, we'll have a talk. So I leave that meeting pissed. I'm fuming. The other girls are fuming. We're just okay, he didn't give a fuck. Clearly, he's not going to do anything about this situation. More is coming to light that other girls have quit because of him. All these insane things are coming up. So I call my mom because I'm obviously going through it. And for my mom's defense, she's totally in the generation of women don't really speak up for themselves. Let it go, Liv. Just go find a new job. They're not going to take you seriously. Just let it go. I'm like, no, I can't fucking let this go, because at this point it's bigger than me. There's other girls that are involved in this, and I'm the only one that's speaking up for everybody. These girls do not deserve to go through this. Nobody deserves to go through this. Call my sister, and I'm bawling, and she's like, I'm sorry, did you forget who the fuck you are? And I'm like, what? And she's like, go in there, tell that head of operations that if he's not gone, you're gonna take it to the press. There's fucking stand up for yourself, do something. The place I worked at, if this went to the press, they would have been fucked. I go to my manager, I'm like, hey, call up the head of operations guy, I need to talk to him immediately. The guy comes up and he's like, Olivia, what can I help you with? I'm like, let's go talk somewhere private. So I look at him and I say, if I come into work tomorrow at 5 p.m. and he's still on the floor, I am going to go to my sister, who's a writer for the New York Times, and I'm going to take this entire story to the press. Not only that, I'm going to get my entire legal team involved. I know this story would make a great headline for the New York Times. He's hurt too many girls, and this has been going on for so fucking long, and you weren't going to do anything. And you will get a written copy from my lawyer of everything I just stated in this previous conversation. And if this is not handled tomorrow by 5 p.m., I'm going public. The man looks at me and is like, I'm like, do you have any further questions for me? And he's like, hey, it's okay. Like, calm down. He'll be gone. He'll be gone by tomorrow. Don't worry. Like, I'm perfectly calm. I'm going to send a written statement of everything I just said to your email. My lawyers will have it to you by tonight. I hope for you and me both that he really is gone. 5 p.m. the next day rolls around. I step on that floor and he's no longer there. That whole day at work, everyone was coming up to me just like thanking me. They're like, I don't know what you did, but like, thank you so much. We literally spent the night like celebrating. That's the story time of how I got my boss fired for sexual harassment.
Am I wrong for refusing to take my daughter to my ex-husband's wedding? My 42 female, ex-husband 45 male and I were together for 20 years. We had a beautiful daughter together, Jocelyn 14 female. We got a divorce 5 years ago due to infidelity on his part. I was devastated. He was the love of my life and he betrayed all of the trust and loyalty we had built up. To make matters worse, he ended up in a relationship with the woman he cheated on me with. They got engaged 1 year later and are set to be married in 2 weeks. Honestly, I still am heartbroken over my divorce. It's hurtful to me that we were together for 20 years and he could just go fall in love with someone else as if I was nothing. However, Jocelyn was only 9 when we divorced and he's a great father, so I would never want to come in between their bond. Jocelyn loves his fiancé and she's very sweet to her, but she doesn't know the reason why her dad and I divorced. I want to tell her when she's a bit older and he doesn't want to tell her at all. Duh, of course he doesn't. Anyways, I compromised with him that Jocelyn could come to the wedding, but that he would have to provide the transportation to and from the wedding, as I want no part of it. I don't want to drop my daughter off at his wedding. I don't want to see all the decorations and the happy guests. It'd just be too much for me. I didn't tell him all of that obviously, but he agreed. Today he calls me and says if he can ask for a huge favor. It turns out that his future in-laws are flying in the morning of the wedding and he has to go pick them up. Therefore, he can't pick up my daughter the day of and wanted to ask if I could take her. I said absolutely not and asked why he can't pick her up the day before when she gets off of school. He said he doesn't want to make the drive twice and that he will likely not have time as he has to prepare for the rehearsal dinner. I asked why can't the bride pick up her parents? He said she'll be getting her hair done and won't be able to. I laughed and told him there was no way I'd take my daughter and he'd have to figure it out. Boy, why did I say that? My daughter ran downstairs crying, face beet red 10 minutes after my conversation with her dad, calling me terrible and accusing me of not wanting her to spend time with her dad. I told her that's not the case and she demanded to know why I couldn't take her. I couldn't give her an answer and she ran upstairs crying. Now I'm getting messages from his family calling me heartless and cold and a bitch for trying to ruin his special day over a relationship that is long over. I'm sorry, look at all these people messaging you. They can pick her up, right? Well, problem solved. But they won't. My family understands my point of view, but I feel terrible that I've upset my daughter. I don't know what to do. Am I the asshole? Should I just put aside my feelings and take her? My wife poured a bottle of water on me and I think I'm done. This happened a few weeks ago. My wife and I were arguing about how to cut onions. I had stupidly thought that I could do it all, that I could chop up onions and add them to the chili as she asked. She came by and got pissed, telling me that I'd cut them too coarse, that they were supposed to be much smaller, and that the chili was ruined because I'd put them in the pot. I said, okay, let me just get them out. They're just on top and I was just trying to do what you asked. I can cut them smaller and I start to pull them out with the spoon. She says, no, that's okay, don't do it. She'll just do it. She pushes me out of the way and takes the knife out of my hand. I let go. I start to complain about how I did what she asked and if she wanted them put on the chili at the end, she should have just asked for that instead of me putting them into the chili while it was still on the stove. I desperately wish I could do something, anything right. I retreat to the other room as I'm pretty freaking sad. I'm 28 years old and I can't make canned chili apparently. I sit down on the bed trying to stay out of my wife's way so she can fix my mistakes. She brings in dinner and I'm ready to drop the problem. I eat and she eats half of her food, then brings it back up. I apologize multiple times. She doesn't seem satisfied. I tried to explain myself then that I feel like maybe she should have communicated a little better if she'd wanted the onions as a garnish instead of just in the chili. She tells me I'm not listening, that I'm cutting her off. I don't understand. I feel like we're taking turns. I desperately try to stay calm, keep my voice quiet. As calmly as possible, I say that I would appreciate it if she could be more specific about what she wants. Then she snaps and pours the entire glass bottle of water all over me. As she does, I can hear myself saying, please don't, as water runs down my face and back. It's making a huge mess. My first instinct is to clean the water up. Wipe it up, get the blanket dry. I tried so hard to be good. I tried so hard to keep my calm and it got me nowhere. I get my keys and leave, still crying. My wife starts crying as I walk out, telling me I don't care about our relationship and that I'm just abandoning her. I just tell her as calmly as I can that I need to be alone for a little bit. I go out for an hour and sit by the library. I'm cold and wet. She calls me several times. I don't really want to answer. I haven't been okay since this. I know it seems stupid, but this event has pulled up a lot of bad things she did to me in the past when she was going through a lot of things in her life. She's apologized for some, others she doesn't even remember. Verbal, emotional, physical. I don't think I can stay married. It's like everything keeps boiling up. I don't know why this. Maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know. This incident just sounds like it's the straw that broke the camel's back. Oh, bro, what? I don't know why I thought this was a man, but it's a woman. There's an edit. She goes, I want to add that I'm also a woman too. My wife and I are both women, since many of the comments and responses are assuming I'm male.